The reason that you now make 10 times what you were making before is because you were open to finding your superpower. Hey everybody, Mike Shreve here with the NoPantsProject.com, and I am joined by my very good friend, longtime friend, like for me a long time, Kate McKnight, who is one of my favorite copywriters, and we have worked together for a while now, more than a year, I think.
Oh, like 3 years, yeah.
Has it
It's been a while.
really been 3 years?
Time flies.
So that's a really long time friend for me. So I'm so excited to have her on because as you've seen from some of these other interviews, there's a lot of different ways that you can be a freelancer. And you know from the No Pants Project that a lot of what we focus on is designing your life first and then finding a freelance setup that works within your life choice, okay? So one of the mistakes that a lot of freelancers make is they just go, I need jobs. And then what happens is the market decides how they live, and that's why so many freelancers are miserable. They take the jobs that they don't really want to take and all that kind of stuff. So what I'm most excited about today with Kate is she has mastered this piece of figuring out what she wants to do and then making freelance work for her. The crazy thing is, okay, she's not sacrificing income to make this happen. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about what she makes, how she makes it, what she used to make, what helped her to get to what she makes now. So lots of really good information in this interview today. I'm so happy to welcome Kate. Kate, say hi to everybody.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Where I want to start is where you started. So go back to that moment, if you can, in your mind. What were you doing? Did you have a job before? What was your life like when you decided to get into freelancing for the first time? And walk me through that process.
Sure. So when I first started, I was actually working customer service on the phones. I was working from like 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. while my husband was working like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we saw each other maybe 30 minutes a day, and the rest of the time we were sleeping or at work. So there was that. And again, I was on the phones, and I'm a super introvert. So I hate talking to the phone's like the worst thing for me. It's almost worse than in person. And I was selling like invisible fence products. If you have ever heard of those, but it's like fences for dogs stay in the ground. But anyway, and I was doing customer service if people had issues and then trying to upsell them. So it ended up coming in handy with my current freelancing job, but it was miserable at the time. And I had a background in English and writing specifically. Mm-hmm. And before that, I was actually scooping poop at the local animal shelter. So I kind of was sitting in this place where I was like, I have a master's degree. I had a 4.0 in college. Why am I working in a job I hate, making barely above minimum wage? So I was just miserable. And I remember each night I would go to bed and just stare at the ceiling for hours, pretty much thinking like there has to be more to life than this. And so I started reading kind of some personal development books, exploring kind of what it means to live your purpose, started putting words to the feelings that were inside of me, I guess, and realized I love writing and I miss writing. How can I go back to that? So I was on Facebook one night. All these feelings were going on. I was trying to figure out how do I get into a life that I actually enjoy. And one of my friends had posted a comment about how she was writing content for small business owners, and she was doing it from home, and it just sounded like a dream. I was like, you're writing for a living and you're doing it from home. How can this be possible? And I barely even knew her. It's a girl I went to college with. But I ended up just sending her a message out of the blue, and she kind of helped me get my first freelancing job on Elance. So it was back before Upwork took things over. But that's kind of where it all started.
So I'm so glad that you shared that, because everyone listening to this right now, are you not seeing a theme? Creative person goes to the traditional job market, creativity squashed, miserable, turns to freelancing to return to creativity. I actually didn't know you had a master's degree. I knew you had a background in English, but I didn't know you had a master's degree.
Yeah.
So let's add overqualified creative, goes to the job market, gets totally just obliterated. And I think it's really important, two things, and I actually want to ask a follow-up question, that you felt it. Like you didn't just think it, like you could lay in bed and feel something was wrong. And I think a lot of people right now listening to this probably feel like something just isn't right. Now, if you aren't convinced yet, if you're watching this right now and you're not convinced yet of what the reason is, like why you're feeling that, after watching all of these interviews of these creative people coming back again and again and again, saying once they realign themselves with their creativity, thanks to freelancing, they started to feel better. Let me like spell it out for you. The reason you feel that way is because you're suppressing the creative desires and urges inside of you right now. And freelancing can be the way out. We're going to talk about how Kate actually transferred into that, because this isn't the end of your freelancing story. You didn't just go to Elance and all of a sudden was happy and rich and wealthy. But can you actually give our readers, or sorry, our listeners, one of the things that you took away from that personal development time? Because that's so important. Any particular things where you're like, that's it for me. So for example, for me, I was studying Jim Rohn and I found this idea of the value ladder, that if you're worth $1 an hour today, don't you think you could be worth $1.25 in 6 months? Well, then logically you could be worth $1.50 in a year, and just keep following that process. And that like blew my mind. I was like, so is there something from personal development that you were like, that really woke you up?
It was mostly one book in particular that I've like never heard anyone talk about. My mother-in-law just happened to give it to me during this time. So I really feel like it was kind of a weird destiny calling thing, but it was called Wild Goose Chase. I don't even remember the author. It's like finding your purpose within a Christian context. So just depends what your beliefs are there. But I remember one quote that the author talked about a lot was Anne Lamott. She said, I truly believe living as if you're dying sets us free. And that just kind of resonated with me on like a really, really deep level. That's something I'd never, like I said, I felt this calling and desire. I want to create, I want to write, I want to do something that matters, but I didn't have words to describe what I wanted. And so that kind of helped me put everything in perspective. Like, life is short. So am I going to keep hating what I'm doing and not having any time for my husband, or just feeling like there's no light at the end of the tunnel, or am I going to explore my options?
Yeah, you know, I love that quote. I actually, on my phone here, on the back, on this little bookcase I got, I have a quote similar to that. And I think we are on the same sort of aligned in this regard, but it says, tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Oh man, it's too short.
Yeah.
Life's too short to be working customer service, selling invisible fences, when you have devoted at least 6 years of your life to the thing you like already know you like. And that's the crazy thing. So many people watching this interview right now already know what they like. They just haven't figured out how to get there. So let's jump back into your journey as a freelancer, because we left off at, you realized, okay, I got to get back into writing. And then you went to Elance.
Yeah.
Tell me, tell me what happened there.
So I realized the first good thing was I realized I can make money as a writer, and I don't have to be a fiction writer. I don't have to be, you know, a creative writer necessarily. There are ways to make money. So that was a good aha moment. No one ever taught me that in school. It was more, you can teach. That's what you can do with your English degree, which is what my master's degree is in, by the way. But when I started working with Elance, it was through kind of a web content farm. And the company, it was a massive corporation, international company that built websites for small business owners. And so they just wanted to pump out content for home pages, contact pages, services pages as quickly as possible. They honestly didn't even care that much about the quality. They just wanted like someone with a native English speaker to put words on a page. But me being who I am, recovering perfectionist, I had to go above and beyond for every project and like try to make it the best sounding services page anyone had ever read. So that ended up paying off in a good way. I was able to kind of become one of the top writers within their group of like 80 or 100 writers or something. So I was in like the top 5. So that was kind of launched my career in a good direction. But the downside of working for this company that didn't really care about me personally is they weren't really teaching me how to develop as a writer in this industry. And the worst part of it was the hourly time it was taking me. I think I've broken down what I was actually making per hour was like, it was less than what I was making from the job I'd quit. It was somewhere around $7 an hour. So it wasn't even minimum wage, but I was happy because I was home at least, and I was getting to write. So it was fun and it was different. But then the other thing, the company was headquartered in India. So their time zone differences were way different. So when they got new jobs coming in, even though we were all on the same team, we had to submit proposals to actually get assignments. So, and the time to do that was every night between 11 p.m. and 5 o'clock in the morning. So if you wanted to actually get work for the next day, you had to wake up throughout the night and submit proposals to get an assignment. And so I was setting alarms, like I'd go to bed at 11, apply to a couple jobs, wake up at 2, set an alarm for 3, wake up again at 5, and then I would start working at 7 because it was taking me all day to craft my website pages.
Oh my gosh.
It was miserable.
Listen, when you tell me that story, what I hear is that creativity inside of you literally so desperate to exercise itself that it was putting you in like physically harmful situations.
Oh yeah, I was sick like for a year, and this I worked my butt off at this job, and I had it for like a year, which for a freelancing gig, that's a long time. So I was like just so grateful to, you know, have work even though I was making like nothing. And I actually was sleeping in our guest bedroom, so I didn't wake my husband up all night long setting these alarms. So for a year, you basically weren't married. Basically. We hung out on the weekends if I didn't have work.
You know, that's really interesting. So I think that's pretty common for a lot of people who get into freelancing is that creative urge, the urge to engage mentally, to create something drives you to these unsustainable situations. And so they say whatever, like 9 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 5 years or whatever that statistic is. I think that rate's even higher for most freelancers. And the reason is because most freelancers lead with, like what we've talked about before, they go into the market and they say, I just want to be creative. And then they let the market control their life. What most freelancers are missing is leverage, meaning they use their creativity and their skills to actually control the situation. And we're going to talk about that. Shoot, let's just go into it right now.
True.
because you were getting paid $10 a page.
Mm-hmm.
Today, in the past week, you and I have talked about your fees.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting paid $100 to complete the same work on your terms. You sleep in the same room as your husband now. You're
Yeah.
not sick. And we'll talk a little bit about your trip to Hawaii and doing the digital
Yes.
nomad thing. But I really want to push this point home to everybody listening, this idea of leveraging your creativity to not only get paid more, like 10 times more, but to live just a whole better lifestyle. And specifically, I want to talk about it in terms of what we teach in the No Pants Project workshop that's coming up this Tuesday at 11 a.m. If you haven't signed up for that yet, by the way, go to the nopantsproject.com, totally free workshop. We're going to give away a 12-week plan, literally a day-by-day checklist. Just do this, do this, do this, and 12 weeks, 90 days, 3 months, all the same thing. Should be full-time freelancing in the way that we teach it, which is like the $10 to $100 an hour. You can do security, lifestyle, wealth, whatever you want to do as a freelancer, whatever your choices are, that kind of style. That's that 12-week plan. So we're going to be giving that away for free if you show up to the training this Tuesday at 11 a.m. Side plug, just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to go to that. But so what we're going to talk about right now is one of the things that we teach in there, which is the way you leverage is you find your freelancer superpower. You find the thing that makes you different, that makes you unique, that makes you special, and you listen to the market, right, a little bit, but you don't let the market control you, and you find something that you can provide that offers a lot more value to clients and all of that sort of thing. So let's talk a little bit about your journey from $10 a page, aka $7 an hour, to $100 a page, which sometimes means more than $100 an hour, because you're also, yeah. So, talk about that a little bit and that whole process of discovering that about yourself and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, now I make minimum. I set my project fees so it's minimum $100 an hour. If I get done faster, it can be $200 an hour if I'm on. But the way I did that was by drilling down on what I liked the most and specializing in it and getting really, really confident in that one specialty skill, which for me was direct response sales copy. And so you were really the first one to kind of give me that big break and even introduce me to direct response. I had studied some copywriters, but when I was working for Elance and the company there, the Content Mill, it was pretty much just, I was writing web content was kind of how I would pitch myself for job proposals, which is really generic. Like, what does that mean? I write stuff on the internet is what that means. It makes me no different from any other of the 10,000 copywriters just in that one area. And so I kind of stumbled upon direct response and figured out that's what I was really better at and what I enjoyed a lot more, because it was more challenging and more of I love psychology. So I got to use kind of all that persuasion tactics and all that. So I really just doubled down, studied the heck out of that. And that's kind of how I was able to eventually, completely 10x my income.
Yeah. And so let me actually give you my side of the story. So I remember when you first came to me from that Content Mill, and I can't remember, did the Content Mill like shut down or something? Or
so they decided to outsource everything to, I think, India.
Okay. Yes. So I remember that because it was a perfect example of what happens to a lot of freelancers when they go to these what I call bottom of the barrel clients. Bottom of the barrel clients care about one thing and one thing only, and that is saving money. And I'm going to tell you right now, most companies that focus on just saving money burn themselves out. They burn their freelancers out. They're horrible companies to work with, be associated with, stay as far away from them as possible. The companies that focus on value, and they are out there, not commonly on Elance or Upwork, I will have to say, but they are out there. It's like a whole different experience working for them. It's like a whole different experience. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is when you first came to me, the reason that you now make 10 times what you were making before is because you were open to finding your superpower. Straight up. Like, you had a degree in English and you knew you wanted to write, but you also had other interests as a human being. Like you just said, like with copywriting, you get to like learn about psychology and persuasion and like all these sorts of things. And I think too many freelancers block themselves off and say, no, I only like designing this one thing, not realizing that they're a complex individual with a lot of different likes. And that if they're open to those aspects about themselves, they can discover their 100 plus per hour superpower if they're just willing and open to do that. So now let's talk a little bit about a day in your life. Now that you have some creative leverage, what does it look like? Just walk me through like a typical day.
Oh, Mike, it's awesome. I can't, like, I feel so blessed. I mean, I'm not like making $1 million a year, but I feel like I have a hugely rich life.
Yeah.
So just to give you a background of what it was like before, again, I was not sleeping. I was sick all the time. I went to bed every single night with this horrible anxiety. I woke up with the same horrible anxiety. So I had a stomachache all the time. But now I pretty much go to bed like cool as a cucumber. I'd fall right asleep like a baby. I wake up whenever I want, which is currently around 7:30. It used to be like 5, and then it just kept getting later. So anyway.
It's still better than me. I don't get up till 10.
Well, I used to be a morning person, but, you know, things happen. I pretty much just take between 7:30 and 8:30 to, like, get my mind right. Basically, I'll read, do my form of meditation, get my coffee, chill out. And then at 8:30, I get to go box I can box for an hour and a half, pretty much as long as I want, which would never have been like, if being able to box at 8:30 in the morning, most people are on their way to work at 8:30 in the morning. So that for me is huge. And just amazing for flexibility and freedom. And I come home, I work for like 2 hours, I eat lunch, work for a couple hours, take a walk around the neighborhood to clear my mind, and work for like an hour or two more. And then it's dinner time and I hang out with my dogs and watch TV with my husband, read and go to sleep. But I'm literally working an average of like 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I'm getting everything done in that time because I've found the skill that I'm good at, I'm confident in, and it's a system now, so I can get things done. It doesn't take me 15 hours a day to write a website.
Yeah. And I think, so what time do you get done with boxing? I think it's so cool that you're boxing.
About 10 a.m.
Okay. I want everyone that's listening to this right now just to imagine what it would be like if you had 2.5 hours in the morning, because you say you wake up at 7:30 and then you're done boxing at 10. 2.5 hours every single morning to do whatever you wanted to do. Pretty awesome, right? Well, if you haven't caught on yet, Kate also said that she works 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And remember what she said earlier? She bills $100 an hour. So imagine having 2.5 hours to yourself in the morning, and then by the end of the day, having also made like $400, $500, $600. Like I tell people this all the time. Freelancing is the best business ever. Like, honestly, it's better than Amazon sites. It's better than anything else you can do, because it is, first off, once you figure out the system, once you crack the code, as they say, to like actually develop this kind of lifestyle, the supply of clients is endless. like, honestly, the problem is I need to turn away work. Like, when you figure it out, like, your biggest problem is like learning how to say no and like not over indulging in the awesomeness. But if Kate wanted to devote those 2.5 hours in the morning to like some kind of passion business or some like there's just opportunities. Like, freelancing as a career is just this thing that allows you to leverage your creative talents to develop more opportunity in your life. So I'm the kind of person, and I actually should probably take some notes from Kate, where when I have 2.5 hours, I like go do I go do another project. So I'm like always dabbling in other projects. I should probably like chill out a little bit and like do boxing or something. But I just really want to point that out, like how incredible that is. But also, like, I love you, Kate, and you're super awesome. And yes, you did have a master's degree, and yes, you did work really hard. But Kate is not like the exception to the rule. The difference between Kate and probably you listening to this right now is that Kate made strategic decisions about her freelance career, including what her superpower would be and all of those sorts of things, which we'll cover in the training this coming Tuesday. And so the consequences of those decisions is the life that you just heard. You heard it from Ingrid, you heard it from Pete, or you'll hear it from Pete. I don't even know what arrangement these interviews will be when you see them. And you're going to hear it from a lot more people on the training and all sorts of things. Like, when you strategically make career decisions about freelancing, this is the result that you can get. So I want you to tell them about your trip to Hawaii, because it wasn't even really a trip, really. It was like digital nomad lifestyle.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, my husband and I actually lived in Hawaii for 6 weeks. And again, something that would never be possible if we had normal jobs, if we had bosses. We can't just take off for 6 weeks. And we lived, I mean, if you've never been, have you ever been to Hawaii, Mike?
I haven't, no.
Okay, well, this is, oh, gotcha. Well, that's a terrible flight, but this is my second trip. And we actually got to stay in someone's condo. So we were actually house sitting. So we were living like locals. It was awesome. And we were in one of the richest parts of Oahu. So Honolulu's okay, but it's like crowded and dirty. We were in Kailua, which is like the most beautiful beach, one of the most beautiful beaches in Hawaii, excuse me. And I mean, we got up every morning whenever we wanted and walked to the beach and spent the morning just on the beach, hanging out, swimming. And I mean, we hardly even worked while we were there, honestly, because it's like, how do you work when you're in paradise? It was an incredible experience, and we did tons of hiking and just soaked it up.
So when you were there, you said you didn't do as much work. I would say, like, would it be accurate to say that you basically did enough work to keep a little bit of money coming in to just meet minimums?
Exactly. We basically made enough money to make sure our mortgage was paid back home and to buy food while we were there. But my husband is like he's the budget man. So he's really good with numbers and keeping track of exactly how much we need. So yeah, that's exactly what we did. We're like, okay, well, we have this much saved. Our housing there was free because we were house sitting. And we just had to pay for and we used their car. So we just had gas and, like food expenses. So we just did the bare minimum because why not?
Yeah. So took 6 weeks off.
Yep.
And then when you came back, your freelancing career was over and it was a complete disaster and you never worked again, right?
Something like that, but no, not at all. I was worried, honestly, because for the last over a month, I've been telling people, nope, sorry, I'm in Hawaii. I'll catch up with you in a month. And I was really afraid that a lot of people would just kind of be like, okay, well, screw you, Kate. But I think it's where I had built up a relationship with people. I was reliable. They knew I kind of needed this time, honestly. And so they ended up coming back. I don't do any sort of advertising frankly, I just have enough referrals and repeat business that it keeps me more than busy.
Yes. Listen to that, everyone. She took 6 weeks off. She came back, and the clients she was saying no to said yes when she got back. That is the definition of leverage. The reason that Kate was able to do that, to literally control her life, to say, I don't need money right now. I need a break. Okay, break's over. I need money now. And it literally to be turned on and off like that, that's the definition of leverage. And she was able to do that because she developed her freelancer superpower. That is the importance of finding your space in this market and looking inwardly, developing yourself, making decisions, strategic decisions about the life you want to live, and going and getting it. And if you listen to another thing that Kate said, which is, this is an awesome interview, by the way, Kate, thank you so much. She said that she was not doing any additional marketing, any additional sales. She's almost completely referral business. She's almost completely just other people, like that kind of thing. Again, power of the power of the freelancer superpower. But do you remember in the beginning of the call of this call when she said, I hate being on the phone. I hate sales, right? Again, she made a decision about her life, what she wanted, how she wanted to set it up. And she went to the market with that, and the market obeyed. The market is playing by her rules that she set up. So again, you guys, show up for the training on Tuesday at 11 a.m. It's completely free. We're going to walk through how to do all of this stuff that we're talking about. I need you, as you listen to this, to understand what's being said, okay? Kate is a good friend. Yes, Ingrid's a good friend. Pete's a good friend. But these are not special cases, okay? This is consistently what happens when you make these strategic decisions that we've been talking about. So I just have to point that out. Now, let's move on. Thank you for sharing those details. Oh, I saw pictures of you guys in Hawaii, and I was like, dang,
it was wonderful.
She's having a good time. And I love the fact that I love the fact that you did that for yourself, because as a creative, you have to recharge. But I also love the fact that you didn't fall into the temptation of going to Hawaii and then working 12 hours a day. Like you very consciously were like, no, this time is for me to recharge and relax. I think that's so cool. You mentioned your husband. Let's talk about his journey into freelancing, because I think there's some people on this who might like the idea of husband and wife, spouse, couple getting into freelancing. So tell me his story and how you influenced him into freelancing as well.
Yeah, so my husband, before he was working with me at home, he also graduated with an English degree, master's in teaching, wasn't really sure what to do. So he ended up in a machine shop. He was working with steel. He was basically drilling holes in big steel pipes all day long, every day. So he kind of maxed out his capacity in that job. He was one of the top workers. He was making more than any of the other guys on the floor, minus management, but he was making to max out there, it was a little over $16 an hour. So, and that's like, unless he got a management position, that was going to be it for him. So meanwhile,
here we are again, creative in a job that, and I'm no offense to steel workers, no offense to anyone who's in a blue collar job. My whole family is blue collar. I love blue collar. But when you have that desire to be creative and you are stuck in a job that is not allowing you to create, like be creative and like fulfill that creativity, like that is crazy. You can like have a full-time career, make a lot of money being a creative. Okay, sorry to interrupt. Had to point that out. Same thing. Every single time we do these interviews,
Yeah.
same thing. Creative person stuck in a job that is not fulfilling to them. They turn to freelancing and...
No, you're absolutely right. And he was trying to be creative in that job, even like with what he was doing. He was constantly trying to learn new skills. He would bring me home like little steel sculptures some days because he was bored. So, I mean, you're exactly right. But his day was essentially get up when it's still dark outside, come home and it's dark already. So he never even saw the sun, and pretty much go to bed because he's exhausted. It was really hard on his back because he's up on his feet all day in a factory and carrying around really heavy pieces of metal. So he was very unhappy. Meanwhile, I am like home all day. I get to take walks and just kind of feel refreshed all day. He would text me throughout the day and being like, what are you doing? And of course I'm like, oh, just working on this cool project for so-and-so. And so I'm kind of always talking to him about these exciting things I have going on. And eventually there was definitely like a wedge between our relationship, just because he had the feelings. He knew he was unhappy, but wasn't really sure what else to do. And I think the turning point for him was one day we were in a local bookstore buying some books. They have video games there also. So when we got to the checkout line, I had like my arms full of all these copywriting books and personal development. I had like some Dale Carnegie in there and Napoleon Hill and stuff. And he looked down at what he had, and he had a video game. And I'm pretty sure he actually put it back.
Wow.
And on the way home, we had a conversation that he was like, this is what's wrong.
Wow.
You were invested doing what you love, and you're learning and growing, and I'm just kind of stagnating and trying to escape it with video games and sleeping. So that's kind of his turning point when he knew he had to do something different. So fortunately, I'm not one to like try to convince him into it, but I'm happy that he discovered that on his own.
Yeah. And so now you guys are like a freelancing power couple.
Yeah, now we're like the dynamic duo. And we've got I'm in our office right now, and it's so cool because we have like, my desk is over here, his desk is over there, and we can talk back and forth all day. Sometimes we work with the same clients, but and what is it that you guys work on together? What do you guys do? So his superpower is kind of Facebook ads and ClickFunnels, funnel building. So he is mostly on Upwork actually, and he just quit like a year ago. So it was last July that he quit.
His job's at the steel.
Yeah.
Yep.
He just he went part-time for like a month, and then found one client on Upwork to pay him more than he was making slinging steel. So he was like, okay, I quit. And he started out doing VA work, figured out over a few months, he really enjoyed the metrics and stuff of Facebook ads.
Found a superpower.
He is super techie. He grew up building computers, so he has that base, and that's what he enjoys. And so that's his specialty, is Facebook ads and running traffic to funnels, and also setting up the ClickFunnels landing pages and stuff. So he works with all kinds of entrepreneurs all over the world. And when we work together, I write the copy for his clients. We don't work together a ton. Yeah. And a lot of times they already have copy.
Yeah. Do y'all have a website that people watching this could go check you all out?
He doesn't have one. He has an Upwork profile.
Okay.
So you can check that out. Just Ron McKnight. And he's happy to answer questions too. He had a girl send him a message the other day, and he just gave her some knowledge bombs. Because we're all in this together. Ultimately, we're all trying to figure it out. And then my website is coachcopy.com.
Okay.
So that's
Coach Copy, COACH.
Yep.
Coachcopy.com.
That's it.
Okay. If anyone's listening to this and they need help setting up like a similar automated system like that Kate uses, or they know someone who needs help selling stuff online, the Ron and Kate duo, like when they get together, that's what they do. Like that's their superpower. Okay. So reach out to them. Seriously, super helpful. As you've seen here, awesome, amazing people, very, very helpful. I use them all the time. And so, it's my personal endorsement, so take it seriously. Okay. But seriously, just hire him. Okay, so now your husband and you are working together. You're kind of like living the dream, husband and wife freelancing. You wouldn't have been able to go Hawaii if your husband hadn't also been freelancing. That's pretty. So there's two more questions I want to ask. And this is the part where I get to be selfish and have my ego inflated a little bit. But I think it's important for people to understand, in working with me over the years, not years, what is the biggest takeaway that you've learned, either seen me do or seen me do and been like, I shouldn't do that, in having and building a successful freelance career?
So that's a hard one because you've taught me a lot of things. But what stands out the most for me, and then I'll tell you what Ron said about you too.
Oh, awesome.
For me, it's don't try to reinvent the wheel. Originality will end up slowing you down and you'll probably get frustrated and quit.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, just like you taught me with swiping, and
Mm-hmm.
how to steal like an artist, read the book,
Mm-hmm.
steal like an artist. Yeah.
Good book.
Like find what works, whether it's finding someone's system or someone's ideas or someone who's done it before and it works, and just model them. Like don't try to kill yourself creating something from scratch because you're just probably not going to work and it's going to be really time consuming to do that.
That's excellent advice, and thank you for the reminder.
Yes, I have to remind myself every day.
It's hard as a creative person. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but creativity likes constraints. I think a lot of people forget that. I think a lot of people, like especially writers, they go to the blank page and they're like, "Oh crap," but they're also at the same time like turned off by prompts or turned off by like letting someone else influence their style, even though that's the thing that spurs their creativity. So yeah, excellent reminder. Thank you. So
not that you asked, but I asked Ron his opinion on this. So from his perception, he said, number one, just get started and like just stop thinking about it and just start doing something.
Yeah.
And along those lines, this is a scary career to begin because you're kind of throwing yourself out there. It's a massive leap of faith. But number one, by just getting started and hearing other people say, yes, it is scary and it feels scary, but having their support around you makes all the difference, I think. And you told us you're always going to kind of feel like an imposter, almost like, is this really my life? Are people really paying me $100 an hour to write this stuff? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes you feel like you're going to wake up and it's all a dream, but
yeah,
just, I don't know, just knowing those feelings are there and it's okay, but just keep doing what you're doing. Be confident in your skills.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah. Excellent advice. You guys are the best. So last question, is your number one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is on the precipice? Maybe they have a freelancing client, maybe they don't yet, maybe they just discovered even what freelancing is. What's your number one advice for them to take as big a step towards whatever their vision and idea and dream is in this awesome world of freelancing?
I would say, again, just get started. Start somewhere with what you like And as soon as you get started, if you, let's say you want to start in running Facebook ads, go gather every piece of information about that you can. Go super deep on something specific, something that you can specialize in. You can always pivot and go in a different direction, but find something, a way to specialize so that you can set yourself up to charge the rates that you want, and you don't end up like I did for a year and a half working on Elance, being a very generic writer, trying to be everything to everyone. Go ahead and try to specialize as soon as you can.
Excellent, excellent advice. It's so powerful. It's like what we've been talking about, the leverage. Specialization is leverage, and leverage is king in freelancing. Thank you so much, Kate. This was an excellent interview. I really do appreciate your time. So gracious of you. I hope that everyone who watched this interview was able to hear what they needed to hear in order to follow Kate's advice, which is to get started. I'm hoping that something triggered you in today's interview where you're like, you know what? I want that. I want that so much that I'm going to do something about it. And if you're struggling with what that next step should be, like what is the thing you should do to get going, if you don't even know where to start, if you don't know what the right next step is, I want you to show up to the workshop on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, okay? That is probably your best first step, because in that training, again, if you show up, I'm going to give you the 12-week, little week by week, day by day inside of each of those weeks, checklist for going from 0 to full-time freelancing in 90 days or less. It just depends on how fast you can get through that stuff, okay? So thank you again, Kate, so much. Everyone listening, please don't forget to join us Tuesday, 11 a.m. If you are watching this interview and you haven't signed up for the workshop yet, please just type in your URL, whatever thing at the top of your browser, thenopantsproject.com. Nopantsproject.com will also get you there. You'll be able to register for free. It is absolutely no charge whatsoever. You'll get lots of free stuff, including the 12-week plan. Show up for the webinar, workshop, training thing, whatever we're calling it, this Tuesday at 11 a.m. Kate, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you all later.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.